I walked amongst you every day, and not one of you realized that I'm not what I seem. You are so used to judging by appearances, and of course, my appearance does not betray my true nature. I like to mingle, to go unnoticed, and it has to be that way. You all have grown so accustomed to films and TV shows and assume we should look this way or that. It really is laughable. I am no Christopher Lee with huge fangs and a black cloak. I don't go to bed at sunrise and sleep in a coffin. That is all the stuff of Hollywood, and oh yes, I can be seen in a mirror. So forget that myth. It is true. I am not too keen on garlic, and you can keep steaks away from me, unless it is a Chateaubriand steak, lightly seared and dripping blood. Yes, you have guessed it. I am a vampire. I was born this way. I didn't ask for it. No more than you asked to be born right-handed or left-handed. I inherited it, like the color of my eyes. Yes, they are the darkest black. But come on, this is the 21st century and we all have evolved since the dawn of time, right? Yes, I take lives. I must. I try not to make them human lives. I try and make do with a chicken or a lamb out at night in the fields, but sometimes the hunger I get for human blood is too great. It's awesome when I can find someone involved in an accident or a shooting or something. Then I can nip in and nip out and have a little snack on human blood whilst no one observes me. I guess that's why the job at the emergency room of the hospital came at such a wonderful time in my life. I was fed up with wanting to take human lives, and sometimes the trail got too hot with the cops on my tail. After some little demeanor like, well, more on that later. I couldn't hold down relationships. I was living hand to mouth. I was behind on my rent, and my parents disowned me as not being a good vampire. The shame. I wanted to prove myself. I wanted to show them I could get along in this modern world. I began the new job with great eagerness. At first, I just started taking the blood bags needed for transfusions as the nurses prepared the patient in the giving sets. It was easy. I had every reason to be in the emergency room. I would amble around to the trolley where they invariably laid the bags and pick one up. I would quickly hide it up inside my scrubs and then make my way to the restroom to enjoy my snack in peace. They come in pint bags, so I found one pint quite filling, and it sated my appetite. This went on for at least a year. No one suspected I was taking blood bags, and I wasn't stupid. I didn't always take them from the same ward or department. I would wander from ward to ward. I had my uniform. I worked there. I had every reason to be in different places around the hospital. If I got stopped, I would pretend I was lost or concoct some story to explain my presence. My favorite one was we had run out of morphine in the emergency department and wondered if they could spare some vials, and of course, I would sign for them. By the time they had gone to the locker for the morphine, I had already secreted whatever blood bags I could find. I would enter with a blanket over my arm, and what better place to wrap some bags of blood up in? Nice and warm too. Why am I telling you all this? In the hope you might understand. In the hope they will release me. They are saying I am criminally insane. They don't believe I am a vampire. They say I'm a sociopath and evil. If only they knew the compunction I have to kill, they would understand! I've been locked up in Florida State Penitentiary, waiting on death row without chance of appeal, and they've put me in solitary. They say I am lucky not to have been sentenced to the electric chair, but death eludes our kind. They would need a stake through the heart, but they won't do that. They don't believe me. You are all so technical now, so scientific, that you think creatures like me don't exist. You say it's impossible. You have made me what I am, and you sentenced me to an eternity of torture and starvation. I am unable to leave. There is one chance that I can escape, but I need blood to afford the change. I need enough energy where I can buy the light of the moon, morph into a bat. Yes, that bit is true, and not made up by the movie industry. However, it is not easy and can go wrong. It should only be done under the most extreme circumstances. It takes a huge amount of energy, leaves you feeling drained and weak, and could go wrong. I mean, it could leave you as a bat forever. So, I have been asked to write this piece for the New York Times, who are running a story on me and the reasons behind my killing. If you read this, please understand I am not a monster. I am no evil genius, some psychotic lunatic. I am just me, misunderstood and not believed. Please, believe me. I know I cannot kill anymore, but perhaps you guys could consider my condition as an illness and provide me with blood? I am not the only one of my kind. There are, at the last count, 100 vampirical Romani who still exist in the world today. Okay, I know you want to know, how did I progress from stealing to killing, and why could I just not stop at stealing? Simple answer, it wasn't enough. Working in a hospital, finding my prey was easy at first. I would go for the elderly, for the patients that shouldn't have been alive anyway, for the machines pumping their blood. They were so easy to take. I worked nights. Most humans were asleep. Sometimes I would hang a stethoscope around my neck and call myself doctor. So easy. Oh, but the trouble was they were diseased or dying, and so they didn't taste too good. They call me a cannibal. How can I be a cannibal? We are different species. I can taste illness in the blood. That's why I prefer to go for accident victims or shooting victims, younger, healthy people. The only aftertaste in the blood and meat was trauma. The taste of trauma was a little bitter, sour sometimes. I love to get nice, fresh, healthy, sweet meat. Children are the best for that, but I don't like to take children. They're quite cute amongst your type to look at, and there's a little bit of a softie in me. That is why I went for the elderly and dying ones. A lot of times, they never had any relatives and wouldn't be missed. So, in I would go. The lights were dimmed or off, and I would come into the wards by the backstairs entrances, the workers' entrance. I would light my torch and softly walk around the dorms, locating the best victim. Your word, not mine. I prefer delicacy. The night staff would have their handovers or breaks, and I found that to be the best and most opportune time to strike. They were distracted. I could work easily, quickly, as I progressed. I found that surgical tools came in handy too. The brain is a particularly tasty morsel, but a little hard to get into, like cracking the shell of a walnut and hoping to extract the whole nut. Still, I began to excel at it. At the beginning, I would just go straight for the jugular and take a bite, sucking down the blood, warm, fresh, pumping blood. It was so delicious. Oh, I'm getting a little hungry just writing about it. They wouldn't find the person till the next morning when I had been gone for hours. They always looked how I left them, like they were just sleeping. It gave me strength though, and I always felt better after a drink. If only you could get that. One night, I had missed out on my late night snack of raw chicken and was very hungry. I hadn't gone out with the intention to kill like they say I did. It was just to drink. I didn't want to kill. This woman who I had chosen was strong and beautiful, and I knew her blood would be savory. She was fast asleep when I took my first bite, but she awoke and started screaming and fighting against me. I pushed her head down into the mattress and covered it with the pillow. She was wildly throwing punches into the air, wildly striking at me, at anything. I leapt on top of the bed and straddled her, my knees pinning her arms down, and she finally stopped fighting and stopped breathing. She lay on the bed limp, and I knew I had to finish the job. I took out my surgical knife, not a scalpel. I needed to get below the rib cage, and I began cutting. I cut from just below the larynx all the way down in one seamless operation to the bottom of her belly, and I flayed her sides apart. This was my first time, and what a beauty to feast on. The curtains were, of course, drawn as I plunged my ungloved hands deep into her belly and up and under the rib cage. I felt the heart still pumping. I'll bet slowly now, and I grabbed it and wrenched it free. The noise was like hearing an apple fall from the tree. A delight. I was so hungry. I devoured it. I couldn't get enough and began to slice parts of her lungs and then tried an ear, which was a little gristly apart from the lobe area. Nice tasting, though. I sat on the side of the bed, snacking, licking my fingers, enjoying every mouthful. I washed it all down by slurping up from the pool of blood that had accumulated in her abdomen, and it was still a nice tepid temperature, which made it all the more drinkable. I realized I was quite a messy eater, so after I had finished dining, I washed up in the nearby sink, covered my scrubs with an apron, and left. I was seen by a couple of nurses on the desk. I should have never left that way, but I wasn't stupid. My face covered by a mask, my hair covered by a surgical cap. I even sported spectacles to throw anyone off my trail. I started peeling off the blue latex gloves as I passed them and shook my head to make it look like I was disappointed or something. One of them actually called out, "Night, doctor." The way I got caught should have never have happened. It was a clumsy mistake. I was particularly hungry that night and driving down a backwoods road when this guy ran out in front of my car into the headlights and froze as my car bore down on him. It was too quick for me to react, and I ran him over just like that. Stone cold dead. I knew it was too good of an opportunity to miss. This was roadkill, right? I jumped out of my SUV and fell to my knees by his side. He was a young man, mid to late 30s, no more than that I can guess. His eyes were shut and a pool of blood had seeped out beneath his head. I am not an animal. I wasn't gonna lap it up off the dirty ground. I opened my mouth wide and bit into his jugular. The blood flowed into my mouth like the juice from a pomegranate. Oh, so fresh and delicious. I felt the energy began to seep into me as it left his body and entered mine. I wanted some fresh meat and ran to my toolbox in the car. I withdrew my surgeon's knife, the big one. I began to carve. Slices of fresh meat fell from his thighs onto some newspaper I had laid on the ground. I ate so much, just sitting there gorging myself. He was so beautiful. The only way I can describe it to you is like having the most succulent, juicy, and flavorsome steak. When you're a fool, but carry on eating because it's just so good. That was me. That was my downfall. I should have been more alert. I should have picked the body up and put it in my boot and taken it home. I should have not have sat at the roadside picking at the body like a freaking magpie. I didn't even hear the car pull up. I was so engrossed in my meal. I mean, I was really enjoying my food. I didn't hear the footsteps approach me, but I did hear the pistol being cocked as the barrel pressed against my left temple. "Stop what you're doing and do not move," came a commanding voice. I opened my eyes to see 2 police patrol officers either side of me. "On your stomach, now!" commanded the one with the pistol at my head. I wasn't going to argue. He might have silver bullets. No, they are just not for werewolves. "What's going on here?" "It's not what you think, officer," I implored or tried to implore with him. "No, get to your feet." Slowly. "Yes, sir," I answered. I rose gingerly and wondered if I should just transition myself into a bat. I should have done that in hindsight, but I was panicking a bit and not thinking straight. They threw me in the back of their car and hauled me down to the county jail. I was not granted bail and stayed in the jail until I was assigned to appear before the county judge. He found me guilty. They had all the evidence, and then it all came out after months of investigation. about what I had been doing at the hospital. I told them so many times the reason. They won't believe me. They still don't believe me, even though I have seen at least 3 psychiatrists who have been very sympathetic. They say I have murdered 328 victims. I don't ever remember that many. I know I had a bite here and a bite there, and that I enjoyed everyone. I did try not to make humans my prey, but after a while, chicken or fish just doesn't do it for me. They found things in my apartment, they say. Mementos. Jaw bones, thigh bones, other body parts, frozen blood in my freezer. They said my apartment smelled. I can't remember. It all seems so long ago. I was only doing what any of you would do if you wanted to live. It's hardwired into me. I need human blood. I cannot help that. You can help me. Yes, you listening to me now, help me. Get me help. Get me the help I need. Contact the Florida state governor and petition for my release. Until then, here I stay. They say I'm deranged. The hell I am.